Yeah, I honestly think this is just gonna spool. This is just gonna spool. All right, we'll get in on this trade here.
Order,
Chasing price a
order
little bit,
submitted.
just a little bit, but I want to put my stops here at the midnight open. We'll see if price comes back. If price does come back to this level, we can get an even better entry, right? We can give it another go. If price comes back to this level. But right now I feel like price might spool towards that daily high. Hmm. Yeah, this is one of those trades where you can look like an absolute idiot or you can look like a genius, right? Because you are chasing price here. You're buying at a top, but you know, say this completely spools towards all-time highs. You know what I mean? If this spools towards all-time highs, it's it's gonna make you look like a genius, but if I top tick this entry and it comes back and hits stop loss, it's like, okay, you just bought a top, you're an idiot. You know what I mean? So kind of trying to buy like a breakout at the open, see a price wants to spool here. Yeah, it's not really the case though, I don't think. It's not really the case. Think it's going to reverse here? Possibly, possibly. We are sweeping liquidity here. Wow. Talk about absolutely top ticking. Look at that. Top tick to the max. Don't have much confidence. Yeah. Honestly, I wanted to
Connection lost.
I wanted to get this entry right here. I wanted to get this entry. I should have been waiting for a fill here and then putting my stops at the low. But FOMO got me a little bit there. FOMO did get me. Coming for these equal lows. Yeah, like I said, this trade can definitely make you look like an idiot. And I definitely feel like an idiot right now. Taking that. Well, we'll see if these equal lows get taken and this 5-minute fair value gap holds. But right now it's not looking too good, yeah. Yeah, bro, this was a nasty trade. This was nasty.
Order filled.
That was gross. I'm not even gonna lie. That was gross. That was horrendous. That was really bad. Nah, I should just I close that trade like that. That's not a trade I should have been taking. This is just chasing price here. Look at that. Absolute top tick. Imagine it reverses. I mean, it's possible, but the reason why I closed that, the reason why I closed that is because like you start to feel the emotion of like, okay, I hope this reverses. And when you hope it reverses, like, you're wrong. And there's stop loss right there. Every time I close a trade early, like it hits my stop loss anyway. Like, so I'm saving myself capital, but like, it's just, little mistakes and then having to close trades early because I'm rushing into a trade. You know what I mean? Every time I close a trade early, especially like the past 2 weeks, like it's never went in my favor afterwards. It always goes to stop loss. So definitely like saving capital, but man, it's rough though, you know? Yeah, it definitely is one of those trades like I definitely shouldn't have taken. I FOMO'd in, but this is what I try to explain to people. Like, you can have a system that you trade and you have setups, but I mean, sometimes like in the heat of the market, like obviously we're not robots. We're not robots. We're going to take trades. We're going to have intuition. We're going to, deviate off the path a little bit, but it's just a matter of like how you manage your emotions and manage your risk. These are all important concepts, or parts of the puzzle, I should say. Like I still think this is a really good buying opportunity, right? But now, my fill is way down here. So if I endure a little bit of drawdown, that's fine. You know what I mean? But up here, look at all this drawdown room that that you can endure for the one risk, right? This little bit of risk or this little bit of reward. So now I get a fill down here. I risk this. My reward's up here. If we take this low, then we'll probably trade towards this one standard deviation. Something to keep in mind too, we have not taken a daily high or low. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But yeah, trading into that inverse fair value gap, coming into an equilibrium here. This could be where we start to see price reverse. But I would have been stopped out there. Because we came back to that midnight open and now we're reacting off of that midnight open. This is kind of crazy. This is exactly what happened yesterday, though, in a sense, right? Except the role is reversed from the data release. The price action before the data release looks very similar, right? Except this swept the high, this swept the low. I still think this is a good fill. I still think this is a good fill because if I look at this from a regular trading out, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I still think this is good. But this is, what I talked about. This is what I talked about. If this trade does lose and it comes down here, then I can get a better fill down in this range, right? So I'm going to actually buy here again.
Order submitted.
I'm gonna have my stops down below at this Asia low. And this will be probably my last attempt, honestly. Because my bias is bullish for the day. If we sweep this data low, then we'll probably keep trading down towards this daily low. And then I'm just wrong about the day, about the price action today. So if we get an inversion here, get an inversion on this candle, then I will scale in this trade, move stops below the low, and expect the daily high to be ran. But yeah, we're trading into an equilibrium, right? From this move. Trading into an equilibrium, trading into an inverse fair value gap. And we've got a nice little manipulation leg at the open. And like I mentioned at market open, we've already swept the Asia low. We've already swept the Asia low, so there's no reason for it to come back and take that data low unless price action was actually moving towards this daily low here to be bearish price action. Both of these moves right here, I'm just looking at manipulation, right? Grabbing liquidity to go higher. In this scenario, I was liquidity, right? I was buying early. I was trying to get on the train early, and the train runs in the opposite direction to grab more liquidity before trading higher. It's kind of how I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, now if this 950 macro goes ahead and inverts this fair value gap, I would say we're pretty golden, right? We invert this fair value gap in the next 2 5-minute candles, and 10 a.m. rolls around, maybe comes down a little bit, trades higher. Yeah, I'm not really looking at that data low as a valid target because that data low already swept liquidity, right? You look at this candle, we swept that liquidity below the Asia low. So at this point, I am expecting it to hold. Whereas yesterday we had data low, right? This data low yesterday did not sweep any liquidity. So this was fair game. In my opinion. That's kind of how I look at it. Those news impactful for NQ? Um, they can be, but it depends on the price action before, right? So I talk about this sometimes, like if you're seeing choppy price action before, okay, say this is 10 a.m. news, right? And you see choppy price action, then you're gonna expect a little bit of slippage, right? And like volatility maybe in both directions. But say we're trending down, right? And there's a higher time frame level of liquidity and that news event comes down. Most of the time that 10 a.m. news event that comes out is going to push it down into that liquidity and then reject, right? That's typically how like the data releases work, or 10 a.m. at least. I've noticed like the 10 a.m. news events, if you have a lot of consolidation and accumulation beforehand, expect it to be pretty violent with, or maybe both directions. But there's going to be some slippage, right? But that'll be something we go through tomorrow, right? We'll go through that tomorrow, and I probably won't be in a trade during that 10 a.m. data release. I don't like to be. But, no, that's tomorrow. That's tomorrow, Alex. Yeah. Brudoni, thanks, man. We actually, I had a horrible entry. I had a horrible entry at the beginning of the session. I actually top ticked a stop loss. But yeah, we ended up closing a trade early up here. Like I had a really bad trade up here thinking that we were going to just spool towards the daily high and ended up face planting, honestly. But luckily able to just manage risk and get out of that trade early. So we are getting that inversion and a retest of that
Order
inversion.
filled.
So I will scale in this trade here. Going to scale in this trade and then move my stops below this candle and expect a continuation here. Nice inversion there. Pretty good model playing out. I would say we are solid to hit the first target here of this 2 standard deviation and then run for this daily high. Yeah, this is a nice model here. This is a nice model, I think. And then honestly, if we lose this low, it's definitely not favorable price action, right? We got a nice manipulation leg. We've already swept the Asia low, like I've said. You know, if we reclaim this fair value gap and start going for this low here, I would say it's not favorable price action today. In that it's going to be seek and destroy before running for that daily high and all-time highs. Yeah, man, you missed my epic entry. I literally top ticked here and it immediately dumped for my stop loss. but luckily was able to close it early and not take a full loss. Only took a 0.5 R loss. It's kind of been the story lately. I've been taking losses early on in the session, like a small loss, and then coming back and making it back and then some, but just small profits because I'm taking early losses in the session. But maybe I should be more patient. Yeah, maybe I should be more patient and practice what I preach. Be patient. Yeah, when did I take this trade? I took this trade at 9:32. Yeah, that's like super early, man. That is super early in the session. It's not the best. Not the best time to take a trade. ES is just running higher, man. ES is spooling. Let's see if NQ can follow. Right now we have SMT, which I don't like seeing SMT when we are in this trade right now. We need NQ to take this high. Need NQ. Take that high bad. But yeah. I think there's no way that CPI does not take the daily high or the daily low, a CPI day. There's no way this ends as a inside bar candle. Right? We still have that daily low. We still have that daily high. There's no way one of these targets don't get met on a day with the CPI data release. Can I break down the SMT real quick? Yeah, so all I'm looking at right here is we have SMT, right, with NQ, and you could see ES. You could see the divergence, right? The science behind it. So essentially, what SMT means is, like I said, if ES takes the high and NQ does not, that means that NQ is a little bit weaker, right? And it could be the first sign that price maybe wants to reverse to the downside here, right? So if ES sweeps this liquidity and it wants to start rolling over towards these equal lows, right? This could be the first sign, right? That this SMT, there's a divergence because they move very similarly. You know, if ES takes a high, NQ usually takes a high. And when you see this divergence here, price moving differently from each other, you can expect something is up, right? Yeah, and honestly, sometimes it's really easy to like overthink it and use it as too much confluence. It's like one of those things. It's like fair value gaps, right? Once you see SMT, once you can spot it, you see it everywhere. So it's just like fair value gaps. Once you see fair value gaps, you see them everywhere. But you can't trust every single fair value gap you see, right? Same thing with SMT. You can't trust every single SMT you see. You know, it's like extra confluence though. Because at the end of the day, like these levels of liquidity are king, in my opinion, right? Asia, London, daily, weekly, monthly. Those level of liquidity, those are the king of, figuring out where price wants to go. Fair value gaps, things like that. That's all like extra confluence, when price is like trending or moving in a specific direction. SMT, extra confluences, in my opinion. You just, in my opinion, you just got to look at the market and like look at it logically, like where is price wanting to draw to? I'm just looking at it. Okay, there was a data release. What did that data release do? That data release came down and swept the Asia low. Where is it most likely to go to now? What level do we have above? We have low resistance liquidity, and we also have a daily high resting above. So if we've swept that liquidity, price most likely wants to go towards this daily high, right? So now, once you figure that out, you get your bias. Now the hard part becomes positioning yourself in the market where your stop loss is not in a spot to get hit, right? Where can you get a good risk to reward, but also put your stop loss in an area that invalidates the trade completely, right? So you see, when I first take this trade here, down here, I put my stop loss below this low. Now we're inverting this fair value gap. I scale in the trade and my stop loss goes below this low. Because if we're trending higher, right, and we're going to make higher highs and higher lows into that daily high, I want to see this low get respected. Before, when I enter early here, I want to see this low respected until we invert that fair value gap. Now, when we break this high, I can make a decision again. If we break this high here, we start closing above, I can enter again, or I could just move my stop to break even. But that always depends on what my average price is, how much I want to risk, where my stop loss would be if I entered again. If I entered again and my stop loss would be really close, maybe I don't want to put that risk on the table. Maybe I just want to go break even. You know what I mean? So sometimes, looking at the market and finding your bias is kind of the easy part. It's the execution and the stop loss placement, you know? But getting those big 1 to 4, 1 to 5 risk to rewards is really tough, because if you want a 1 to 4 risk to reward at current price, your stop loss has got to be that close. You know what I mean? And when your stop loss is that close, you could just get wicked out. Look at all these wicks to the downside. You can't always be worried about chasing that huge risk to reward. Because most likely in the grand scheme of things, you'll get wicked out. That's why I'm honestly a huge fan of just starting with a big stop loss. You know what I mean? Like I said, starting with an entry like this. And then when price shows that it's confirming that it's running for this daily high, you just scale in along the way, right? Scale in at this inverse fair value gap. Scale in at the break of this structure here. Maybe scale in one more time up here if we create another fair value gap, right? And all along the way, you're trailing your stop loss. You trail your stop loss. The more you scale in, and that's how you can kind of milk the profits. But I mean, that's just my personal way to trade. You know what I mean? Seems a little complex, but it's really not. I guess when you put it in practice, But the biggest thing is just admitting you're wrong too. Like, I took an entry up here. You know what I mean? And instead of just like completely having a meltdown about it, I just cut my trade and say, hey, I was wrong about this idea, but I can get a better fill down here. And now I can put my stop loss down below here. You know what I mean? Instead of flipping my bias, and looking for shorts, You know, sometimes I will flip my bias, but trading is very, you know, discretionary and situational, man. It is just, it'll show you who you are as a human, for sure. Can you guys hear banging in the background, by the way? They're like, they're replacing the roof on my apartment complex, and it's like obnoxious. I could actually hear it like through my noise canceling headphones. Dude, you and Randy's nuts, bro. Randy with his 50 micros, bro. Oh, man. Randy's like, bro, what? Yeah, Frank, you missed it, bro. Randy's been going nuts. Randy's been going nuts, bro. All right, so coming into that 2 standard deviation soon, we might be scaling in this trade one more time, to be honest with you. It's looking pretty good. All right, so sweeping that 930 high and getting a little bit of a reaction, not fully what I want to see, to be honest. Not fully what I want to see. But I do think I might want to scale in one more time here. I might want to scale in one more time and have my stops below the fair value gap at this point. Let's see, price is starting to melt a little bit. I don't like that. Let's see what price is running for here. Trading back into that inverse one more time, getting a reaction. Yeah, it was like I was explaining to Alex, I'm not looking for the data low just because that data low swept the Asia low. We had the Asia low, equal lows down here, and the current daily low. So I did see this as an opportunity just for price to continue to expand for the rest of the day. And when I'm looking for expansion, I'm just looking for 2 standard deviations, 3 standard deviations, and then any higher time frame levels of liquidity in that area, right? So all-time highs, daily highs, those type of things. But yeah, I really want to scale in this trade one more time. If we can start closing above here again, right? We had that nice little pullback back into that inverse fair value gap one more time. See if we can get it. Yeah, I mean it's completely valid though to look at that data low, right? I mean, like I wouldn't say it's wrong. It's just how you view the market. Where can you get in? Where can you get in on this to target the daily low? Or not the daily low, the data low. You know what I mean? I still think, the daily low and the daily high are still up for grabs, right? Like we have low resistance liquidity down here, so shorts are still a valid thought, in my opinion, right? You got low resistance liquidity all down here. All these lows have yet to be taken on the lower time frames, right? And you can just see that on the daily. So, and you can see this day, the CPI day has yet to take the low and the high, a low or the high, right? So one of these levels are going to get hit today. And I mean, I'm pretty sure, right? Thursday, CPI release, expecting one of these levels to get hit today. Just had a pretty big bearish candle right off the rip there of 1010. Yeah, I'm hoping we do not get that deep retracement and sweep this low at this point. Well, not hoping. I'm basically saying that I wouldn't want to see this low get tagged again. But like I said, if this low gets tagged again after sweeping this liquidity, it's a little strange at that point to think that that daily high will get ran. Then we might start rolling over towards the data low and then the daily low down here if we're sweeping this low. It's kind of my thought process on it. But again, another day, first 45 minutes, we are in a 100-point range. We have not even moved 100 points yet from top to bottom. So got a little bit of movement in the first 30 minutes, and but we're still consolidating in a 100-point range. Yeah, man, 2025, it's not good, man. The America's in shambles right now, I would say. There was that stabbing that happened, and now the shooting yesterday at Charlie. Like it's awful, man. It's awful to hear. No matter what side, I don't know if it was politically driven or what, but it's awful. It's awful to hear about, man. It's crazy. It's crazy being, assassinated over having an opinion. It's crazy. No matter what side, you know. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Yeah, I mean, his wife and kids like travel around with him. That's his job, that's his profession. But man, that's so hard. I don't even know. Like, you have to not be in your right mind to be able to do that. Like, there has to be there has to be something wrong with you, man. I mean, like, even if you don't like Charlie, you know, just assassinating somebody in cold blood in front of their family and stuff because of, their beliefs. It's crazy. Really sad. Really, really sad. All right, what are we doing here, NQ? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? No, we still got SMT. No, we don't have SMT. Never mind. We took that high. No SMT, but equal lows down here on ES. I don't like that. Don't like that. Yeah, price could trade to the opposite side of the range at this point because honestly, if we were going to displace, I wanted to see 10 a.m. start opening up and running for this, right? I wanted to see 10 a.m. open and start displacing higher, but we are not getting that displacement. We're now trading to the opposite side, it looks like. Yeah, literally. Market ran out of gas and it only moved 90 points. We'll see. Could be a nice little 30 minutes pullback. Stops are still at the low here, basically, of this 1 hour candle and this 30-minute candle. So stops still feel valid. We did completely revert the move that happened at 9:30 to the downside. So we'll see. A lot of choppiness, a lot of consolidation after that CPI release. Thinking about taking a long break. Yeah, bro, that's the hard part, Frank, is you never know when this price action's going to come, and this price action might last. This price action might last a while. You know what I mean? It's tough. Just kind of adapting to the market conditions, I guess, and seeing what you can pull out. But yeah, I will agree, man. We've been having a lot of consolidation between the hours of 9:30 and 11. So it's really hard to trade the AM session when that's happening. Retire and live the life you want. I don't even know, man. It depends on the rate of inflation. Um, I don't even know. I haven't even thought about that. I can live pretty frugally. Like I am a pretty frugal person. I don't have to spend money. But yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I'd probably start thinking about that later in life, 40s, 50s. But all I'm really worried about is like trying to make enough money now to basically support family, living expenses, to just be comfortable, man. That's the whole goal, just living comfortably. You know what I mean? Put in a meme coin. Yeah, I got some crypto investments, but I would like to start a long term portfolio investing into some ETFs and things like that, not just day trading it. I go a little bit risky right now with crypto. Um, but I have a couple investments, you know, but yeah. Oh yeah, at least a mil. At least a mil, Frank. At least. One second. I'll be right back. Mm. Mm. One mil can last a lifetime where you live. Yeah, that's true. It's perspective, man. It's perspective for sure. Retire in a different country. You gotta go live in Italy, bro. Or just make so much money that it doesn't matter where you retire. Just make sure World War III doesn't happen. Yeah, man. I mean, it definitely could be a possibility. All right, what are we doing here, NQ? We're gonna print a green candle and then completely trade down. Getting some volatility, that's for sure. Getting some volume. All right. So got 1 minute. Get that next 30-minute candle. This is where I'm kind of expecting price to start to make that run up to 2 standard deviations, maybe. But like I said, I mean, I'm just looking at price logically. If we come down and we sweep the low of this candle, I'm gonna say, it's not favorable price action, right? Because we are trading higher. Look at these 30-minute candles. We swept Asia low. We swept the current daily low. 9 a.m. rolls around. We sweep the low of 9 a.m. Respect midnight open, and we start trading higher. Right? So price wants to draw towards a higher time frame liquidity. Right? And what's above that? The daily high. But I'm looking at this as a protected low here on the 30-minute time frame. If price comes down and sweeps this low, then I just think it's cooked, right? It's done for. But we got that first 30-minute candle on the 10 a.m. time frame, or not 10 a.m. time frame, but 30-minute time frame. The 5-minute time frame here, you could see that we had consolidation since 10 a.m. So price could possibly take out the low and then trade for the high, or we just trade for the high right here, right now, off the fair value gap. And this 30-minute candle will be printed as a big green candle. Bro, they are going ham on my roof. They're going crazy. Literally. Are hammering my roof, bro. All right, come on. Let's bust through. Ain't got no gas in it. Ain't got no gas in it. All right, so got that 5-minute inversion holding very strong. Very strong. Could be getting a nice closure above. Price is slowly trickling back up towards these highs. If you look at the hourly, we are positioned in the bottom half of the wick of that hourly in the higher low. Now we're just expecting price to trade higher. Very simple. Is price breaking out? What do we think, guys? Is price breaking out here? Looks like it, huh?
Order filled.
Looks like we're breaking out here. So added another contract right there. Added another contract, and honestly, I might just go break even on this trade. I might be going break even and just let this run for the daily high, possibly. Or maybe I just take profit at that 2 standard deviation, honestly. Let's see. Probably will get a reaction off that 2 standard deviation, but we are trading so close to that daily high at this point. What is this? This is 200. That's about 200. Hmm. All right, so no more consolidation at least. Now we are spooling. I like to see that. I like to see that for sure. Hmm. Yeah, I think I might just take the profit there at the 2 standard deviation, honestly. Already took a loss on the day. Might as well just make my loss back and then some more profit. Yeah. Go ahead and just take that dub.
Order filled.
All right. So there's a W. W's. Nice and easy, right? So easy, so free. Wow. All right. So we had our first entry here. So easy, so free. My gosh, I can't see anything. Yeah, I think we do run for that daily high. Unfortunately, I think I'm not willing to hold this only because I took a loss early on in the session. I definitely did want to just make back what I lost and then some, right? So just end the day green. I think we do run for that daily high. But I think that 2 standard deviation was a pretty solid target. So, but yeah, this that first trade was a mistake, right?